Practice the latest South Carolina 200 real dumps for Microsoft Security Operations Analyst exam. 1. You need to recommend a solution to meet the technical requirements for the Azure virtual machines. What should you include in the recommendation? A. Just-in-time, JIT, access. B. Azure Defender. C. Azure Firewall. D. Azure Application Gateway. Answer. B. 2. You need to assign a role-based access control (RBAC) role to Admin 1 to meet the Azure Sentinel requirements and the business requirements. Which role should you assign? A. Automation Operator. B. Automation Runbook Operator. C. Azure Sentinel Contributor. D. Logic App Contributor. Answer. C. 3. You have 2 Azure subscriptions that use Microsoft Defender for Cloud. You need to ensure that specific Defender for Cloud security alerts are suppressed at the root management group level. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you do in the Azure portal? A. Create an Azure policy assignment. B. Modify the workload protection settings in Defender for Cloud. C. Create an alert rule in Azure Monitor. D. Modify the alert settings in Defender for Cloud. Answer. D. 4. You have an existing Azure Logic app that is used to block Azure Active Directory (Azure AD) users. The Logic app is triggered manually. You deploy Azure Sentinel. You need to use the existing Logic app as a playbook in Azure Sentinel. What should you do first? A. And a new scheduled query rule. B. Add a data connector to Azure Sentinel. C. Configure a custom threat intelligence connector in Azure Sentinel. D. Modify the trigger in the Logic app. Answer. D. 5. You have a playbook in Azure Sentinel. When you trigger the playbook, it sends an email to a distribution group. You need to modify the playbook to send the email to the owner of the resource instead of the distribution group. What should you do? A. Add a parameter and modify the trigger. B. Add a custom data connector and modify the trigger. C. Add a condition and modify the action. D. Add a parameter and modify the action. Answer. D. 6. Your company uses Azure Sentinel. A new security analyst reports that she cannot assign and dismiss incidents in Azure Sentinel. You need to resolve the issue for the analyst. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. Which role should you assign to the analyst? A. Azure Sentinel Responder. B. Logic App Contributor. C. Azure Sentinel Contributor. D. Azure Sentinel Reader. Answer. A. 7. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that uses Microsoft Purview. Your company has a project named Project 1. You need to identify all the email messages that have the word Project 1 in the subject line. The solution must search only the mailboxes of users that worked on Project 1. What should you do? A. Create a records management disposition. B. Perform a user data search. C. Perform an audit search. D. Perform a content search. Answer: D. 8. You have a Microsoft Sentinel workspace that uses the Microsoft 365 Defender Data Connector. From Microsoft Sentinel, you investigate a Microsoft 365 incident. You need to update the incident to include an alert generated by Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. What should you use? A. The entity side panel of the timeline card in Microsoft Sentinel. B. The investigation graph on the incidents page of Microsoft Sentinel. C. The timeline tab on the incidents page of Microsoft Sentinel. D. The alerts page in the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. Answer: A. 9. You create an Azure subscription. You enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud for the subscription. You need to use Defender for Cloud to protect on-premises computers. What should you do on the on-premises computers? A. Configure the hybrid runbook worker role. B. Install the connected machine agent. C. Install the log analytics agent. D. Install the dependency agent. Answer: C. 10. Your company uses Microsoft Sentinel. A new security analyst reports that she cannot assign and resolve incidents in Microsoft Sentinel. You need to ensure that the analyst can assign and resolve incidents. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. Which role should you assign to the analyst? A. Microsoft Sentinel Responder. B. Logic App Contributor. C. Microsoft Sentinel Reader. D. Microsoft Sentinel Contributor. Answer: A.